There we go. All right. We are live on everything this morning. And let me do one other thing. There we go. Boy, I'm getting pretty good at this, Joseph.
I
All
hear you.
right. Good morning, everybody. And once again, we got the man with the plans of mental health. Let you know what's going on. Shaking things out there. And as everybody, I talked to Martha on, was it this Monday or past Monday? And she was saying that mental health is, without her saying it, I said rampant. She said pretty much. I said, is the number going up for each mental health person? She said, yeah, it's going up, and it's gonna keep on going up. So basically, she was trying to say that we need more people get into this field, and it's a tough field to get into, but we need it. We need everybody help. And Joseph, you've been saying that for a long time, not only in the mental health field, but also in the nursing field. Those
Mhm.
two right there are the most sought after jobs in the United States. But a lot of people want to. I'm stepping back to the TV guys back in the day where you tear out a little piece of paper and you become a preacher. Fill it out, pay money, you're a preacher. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You have to get and you got to learn those books. You got to learn everything. I don't know, but talking to Joseph, I'm not, what can I say, an expert on it, but I know what to tell people and lead in the right direction, like the people like Joseph. you know, I do that. I don't try my best to diagnose anybody's problems, not even my own, because that's not in my lane. I stay in my lane and stuff. With that being said, good morning, Joseph, and how you doing today?
Good morning. Good morning. Doing good. Doing good. Just got through voting. So highly
Good.
recommend everybody get out there and vote. We talk about a lot of things on this station and on the Impact Hour, but one of the things that we need to do in terms of making a change is act when we can act, right? We've already talked about past few shows. You can't always control everything that's happening to you, but the one thing you can always do is control how you respond. And I can't think of a better way to respond by exercising your right to vote. But I do want to give you a couple of things in mind. When you go in there, it's going to be a little bit different. If you haven't voted, there's going to the environment might be a little different. You might see people shouting names of who they want you to vote for and all that when you walk in. So have an idea of who you want to work for. Now I know when I went in, you had to declare Democratic or Republican, right?
Right.
So and some people might think, well, man, I don't want to do that. I told my wife that that kind of raised a little red flag for her, but I said, look, I kind of like that because everybody you vote on that ticket is going to be Democratic. Now you got to do your homework and find out who it is that you want represented. And I saw some judges on there, some folks on there that I didn't know, but I knew that they were on at least a ticket to side that I think might move the country forward into a better direction and where it's headed.
Right.
And then also there's the policies. So take your time, read it through. Nothing's going to bite you. But I want to give everybody a caution, at least here in Texas. When you get done voting, when you get done, you'll be able to see the printout of everything that you voted for. Make sure that everything that you voted for and the candidate you voted for and the ticket that you selected is the one that you selected when you walked in there. So if you voted Democratic, make sure it says Democratic at that printout, and make sure you see some of the people that you voted for on that ticket too. So before you run it into the computer and get that signature that you voted, make sure that your candidates and your policies that you voted for reflected the way you voted. So,
Also, if you do something wrong on
mhm.
there and you didn't like it, you could take it back up there and tell them, and they'll spoil that ballot and give you another one. You're up to two times. You could
Okay,
do that. If you mess it up, then after the second time, you stuck. But if you do mess
right.
up, you do have the right to go back. Hey, I messed up. You have to give them that ballot, and they'll
Mhm.
issue you another one.
Yeah, outstanding. So that's some good advice. Get out there, vote. you can't sit on the sidelines no more. I think people realize now the significance of the vote. If you don't like how things are going, this is your opportunity to begin to change it. So,
Yes.
if you uh, don't like how things are going, instead of watching the news, complaining and getting on that cycle of insanity and depression, now it's your opportunity to do something. And you know what? It's a good time. Ever since I started voting in Michigan, my grandfather, my grandmother always had me go out and vote, and it was a tradition or go with them when they were voting. So
Yeah.
when I became old enough, I used to have so much pride going to the building, and my grandfather's name was on the wall of the building we used to go to, which added a little more, pride and responsibility because it showed that he's involved. He was involved in the community. He was on
Right.
the housing commission at that time, and it just instilled in me the importance. And then also you get a chance to meet people. I ran into my fraternity brother there. Hadn't seen him since I've been back from Japan. Ran into some people. Ran into somebody that saw me from karaoke and had some kind words. And you just feel a part of the fabric of change,
Yes.
And instead of just talking about it, it's okay to talk about it. You should talk about it, but you also need to be about it and make a decision for your future, for your kids' future. And if you don't like things, if you want to see some change, it's on us. It's always been on
Yeah.
us to do that. So, I just wanted to say that get out, vote, find out where you're supposed to vote, have your driver's license, have another form of ID, social security card, whatever, just in case something crazy happens. And if you are turned back, if there's something that goes on you don't like, contact the sheriff's department. Let them know, hey, I felt threatened. I felt, something going on that shouldn't, that is your right to vote and is protected. So if somebody's there
Yeah.
that shouldn't be, you let them know that you felt impeded and you go back with the authorities and do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Also, I want to point out that there's 3 pages on the Democratic and 2 pages on Republican. I'm telling everybody you can't use electronic devices. What you could get, there's always a sample ballot when you go in. Take that sample ballot, go sit out in your car, go over it real good, and you could check who you want to vote for on that sample ballot. And
There you
this is the
go.
beauty of it. You could take the sample ballot back in there with you and use that to vote. But
Do that.
you can't use no electronic devices. But take the time out to mark everything on a sample ballot, and then go and vote, and you could use the sample ballot.
There you go. There you go. So that's one of the things, and you wonder why we're doing this on a mental health segment. Uh, we've been talking about how to strengthen the village. I do have a strictly mental health topic I want to talk about, but this is one of those things that can help with the feeling of anxiety, feeling of
Mm-hmm.
depression, or whatever. You can go out, and this is one of the things that you can do is educate yourself, like Ron is talking about. Get out and do something like I'm talking about and do something about it, right? And why not bring two other friends with you,
Yeah.
or if you can. So one or two, and to make that difference. So that's my spill on that. And then I wanted to get into something. I think what I want to do going forward is we're going to start getting into particular issues that people want to talk about mental health wise and pull up from some resources like Psychology Today and other things. But one of the things that hit me to talk about is relationships.
Mm.
We
Yeah.
had a lot of people years back and throughout the years that wanted to talk about relationships and how to have a successful relationship. Now, when I talk about relationships, I'm not just talking about intimate relationships. We definitely can talk about that. I'm talking about friendship relationships as well. People that are around you, are they bringing positivity? Are they uplifting you? Or are they pulling away from you and us also pulling you down? So I want everybody to take a look at their relationships and we can talk about it. What is a toxic relationship versus a healthy relationship? That's something we can talk about. So anybody want to call in, give me some examples of a toxic relationship? I can define it, but sometimes it's good to have people talk about it
Yeah.
and have their examples, and then we can define it a toxic versus a healthy relationship. So I don't know. I can't see any of the comments right now. I can't get the ticker to go on my phone. But if anybody has any comments, this would be a good time to chime in so we can kind of get into it. Relationships. toxic or healthy, or or unhealthy relationships versus healthy relationships. What
Yeah,
we got on questions?
I'm getting ready to post this now. Discussion
Okay.
topic relationships. Let me go ahead and post that so people can see it on
Hmm.
there.
And while we're waiting on that, I'm gonna pull up something too here to make sure that we can stay on task. Um, or anybody have anything about relationships? And I'm sure we'll get back on it. The main topic if they want to bring something up, we can talk about it.
Okay, got that there. Let me post one
So,
other
are
little.
there any questions out there? Anything? Anybody got anything out there?
Not yeah, I'm posting on all the platforms right now.
Okay.
So that's what I'm doing right now, getting it
Well,
all
while you're
together.
posting it, I'm gonna go ahead and get a definition. One of the definitions I like. So, healthy relationships are built on trust, mutual respect, open communication, equality, fostering safety and individual growth. Conversely, toxic relationships are defined by control, manipulation, disrespect, constant drama, and often, and this is key, leading to emotional or physical harm. Okay. So this is kind of important. We talk about the health of the community and the village. That's relationships are a key part of that. So let's define healthy relationships versus unhealthy relationships, and we're talking about toxic relationships defined by control, manipulation, disrespect, constant drama, often leading to emotional or even physical harm. And I'll even put sometimes even death, resulting in the death.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, that should maybe, uh, trigger some folks because I know we know some people that, have drama always going,
Yeah.
right? We know people that, don't even know that they're being manipulated. That's another one. What are some other forms of manipulation that people sometimes go through? And that can happen from intimate relationships to friendships, right? So there's that out there. So if you got anything you want to talk about with relationships, I'm not charging today for some tools and some ideas and suggestions. Not diagnosing anybody, but we can talk about it for sure.
So, what you said about a toxic relationship.
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes it's not always somebody being loud about it. It's almost like they're being sneaky about it and pulling,
Manipulation.
yeah, and pulling you in. And next thing you know, how did I agree to all this? What happened?
Mhm.
What should a person look out? What are the signs?
Well, what you might be talking about is manipulation and gaslighting, right? Sometimes a part in a relationship, a partner can doubt cause them to doubt their own reality or memory, kind of lead them in some different ways and making them think that what they think is always wrong or giving them different ways of kind of challenging reality to the other person's benefit, giving them control. The perfect example of that is always another form is isolation, is cutting off people from their friends or family that are healthy, and while they're doing unhealthy things to you, so you can be manipulated. When you cut off the friends and people to say, hey, that ain't right, that doesn't sound right, then you just depend on that person, right?
Yeah,
So a lot of times, unhealthy people won't like any of your friends, right? Now, depending on who your friend is, I mean, if your friend is out doing unhealthy things, doing things that aren't correct, that might be a good thing. But if that friend is done nothing but uplift, help you be positive, and then all of a sudden they don't want you hanging around that person, that should be a red flag. That should be a red flag. constant criticism and drama, always belittling you,
Mm.
yelling, chaotic roller coaster emotions, all that type of stuff. That's manipulation. And you have to learn how to set what's called boundaries. And you can tell people, hey, I'm not dealing with that. I'm not dealing with that today. And then not and be serious about it. If you're in a good space, and then every time a person comes around, you end up feeling down or upset or bad about yourself or whatever. You have to evaluate that,
Mm.
and you sometimes have to separate yourself for a while and let that person sit in their own stuff for a while before they realize, hey, this stuff ain't, this ain't right. Why are people not hanging around me? And why are people not choosing to be around me? Right?
Yeah, man. So nobody still replied back yet. But
That's okay.
do you, if somebody's constantly making an excuse for somebody bad attitude, constantly, isn't that a red flag right there?
Yeah, it's a form of manipulation. When somebody always has a bad attitude, why are you always mad? Why are you always upset? Why do you always have a bad attitude? Is it something that the person is doing, or is there something going on with you? Right? Now, if you want to look at it from a spiritual sense, if you've got Christ in your life, you should have joy. You've got the ultimate source of joy.
Yeah.
So if you're not aligned and you don't have some positive things going on, and from a mindfulness and mental health standpoint, you need to find something positive about your day in your life every day. I can give you two reasons right now that everybody should be excited about your life. If you can inhale or exhale on your own, you're doing good.
I like that.
You're doing real good.
Yeah.
If you can do that, if you can do just those two things. And sometimes you need to sit back and maybe do that before you open your mouth and say something. Take some deep breaths, breathe in, breathe out, and think before you speak. And I think that will help you or determine if you even want to continue with the conversation or not.
I talked to somebody about a month and a half ago.
Mhm.
I didn't mean to laugh, but it was funny what they were saying and how they put it. They come up to me and say, "You know what, Ron? You have people on your show and everything, but this is how I feel. When I talk to one of my friends, I feel so drained after talking to him. I'm just plain tired, just drained." I said, "So why are you talking to him? If that person makes you feel it drains you, and you at the point that you don't want to talk to them anymore because of what they do." I said, "Well, that choice is yours. If you choose to sit there and talk to them, that's fine. But when you get away from them, that's when you're gonna find, my own personal opinion, their true character. But you won't know that until you stop talking to them, and then either they gonna come back and lash at you, or they're gonna say, 'Do I have a problem?' That's what I'm assuming. But that's why I have you on here to straighten me out."
Well, keep in line, anytime you talk to somebody, there's two sides to every story.
Hmm.
And it's real people. People are real good a lot of times at seeing what are being done to them, but they don't all the time see what they do to other people. So that's one of the common red flags in a toxic relationship is that a person has lack of accountability, refusing to see what they do, and blaming you for their negative actions.
Mm.
Right. So,
Yeah.
you always have to, as a therapist, we wear a couple of hats. We're detectives. We have to see the whole picture to kind of see what's really going on, and also we're also a mirror, and we try to, as gently as possible, show them a person's behavioral reflection, so they can make adjustments accordingly, right? Especially as a cognitive behavioral therapist. So, but there's so many things in terms of relationships that we can talk about and we can put out there. But you got to be willing to talk about it and be real about what you're going through, and that's difficult for a lot of people. So I'm not surprised that we don't have a question or something out there. Sometimes people want to talk about it only when it gets completely out of control, right?
Yeah, when it gets to
And
that
then
point,
then they want to talk about it, you know. But there's a book I want to recommend. Actually, Craig, you know, recommended this book, and it's a very powerful one. It's called Love and Respect. Love and Respect. Take a look at it. Let me tell you, see if I can pull up the name of the author. But it's a bestseller, and you can get it on Amazon. Yeah, there it is. Love and Respect, the love she desires, the love, let me get this right. Love and Respect, the love she most desires, the respect he desperately needs. It's a book by Emerson Eggerich, Eggrichs. All right, I'm sorry, Emerson Eggerich. So Love and Respect. So go ahead and if those that want, you can get it paperback, I guess, for $5.39 at Thrift Books. You can get it for $20.99, $14.50, you know, on Amazon, different Audible books. I see one at Church Store for $20.99, audiobooks for $14.50 if you want to hear it. And I highly recommend you get it for you and your significant other, right? It's definitely a powerful book. It's over 1 million copies sold, and I'm definitely going to be using it in my um, upcoming couples counseling groups. That's one of the ones I use. Five Love Languages is another that I highly recommend. But this one I like because it breaks things down on two of the most important cornerstones in a relationship in terms of male-female relationship, which is love and respect. And I think regardless of the relationship, you can read this and get some really good things about it. And what I also like about it, it also pulls in biblical scriptures and understanding. And this for my married couples, I really think this is a good one to delve into. And we could talk about it on the show too,
yeah.
if someone wants to talk about
Okay, we got one from a guy named Billy
it. How you doing, Billy?
off of Twitch.
Okay.
He says he's been telling this a friend of his. He started telling him no, and now every time we're around somewhere, we don't ask Billy because he's just gonna tell you no because he told me no a whole bunch of times. He's taking to another level what he's saying. He said so now I just plan to ignore him right now. What should I do? Should I confront him, or should I just let him just basically just talk yourself to death?
Well, let's first figure out and assess what value in terms of relationship does he have in your life. Let's determine that because and then also let's think about the results going to be when you confront him about saying no, because saying no should never be an issue in a relationship. If it's something you can't do, I highly recommend people start understanding the power of that word and just say no, or maybe say at another time or whatever the case may be. But if this is the type of person that you have to say no to, and you have to say no to them frequently, maybe you need to evaluate that friendship, period. And if you're evaluating that friendship I think you need to first figure out how valuable that friendship is. And some people have always been and should have always been associates. And if they're a person that should be an associate, then maybe you need to take them out of the friend circle and put them in the associate circle. And if that's the case, then it's really up to you if you even tell them. Sometimes life needs to teach them lessons. That's not your job.
Yeah. Well, here's the reason why he's listening. He came back and said no, because he always want to borrow money. He owes me money anyway, and I started telling him no.
Yep, I think you already had an answer. So some things I don't, you don't need a therapist to tell you. Like I said, when we go back to the definition of a healthy relationship, that should be mutual. It shouldn't be. That's a dependency. That's not necessarily a friendship. If a person is always asking you for money, then I think that is a dependency.
Yeah.
When was the last time you were able to ask them for some money? Remember the last time that you were able to ask them for anything? And and you gotta think about it. I always um, compare things in the wild, a lot of times in relationships. If you ever see like sharks or big fish in the water, they'll always have these other little creatures that are we living off of them. And I'm not calling your friend this, but I just want you to think about it. They're called parasites, right?
Yep.
They don't contribute, but some parasites they do contribute, right? They help the fish, stay clean and different things by taking things off of them. If this brother or sister is not contributing to your life in any way other than to hang around you and borrow money, get as the young folks say, living off your wave, then you need to think about, hey, what do they contribute to me? If he's then because he's telling other people you're just going to say no. If he's slandering your name, he's actually harming you, right? So
Yeah.
look at his actions and say, look, man, you can always say, I don't appreciate you telling people. I'm going to always say no. I didn't always say no to you, but I'm not going to be used by anybody. Well, what do you mean be used? However you say that, sometimes you just have to be real with folks.
Yes.
I've had to tell family members, I don't need any family members I have to pay for, you know, and they can take that how they want to take it, you know, because that should never be the case. The people that use you most in this relationship things, sometimes the most are your family and your loved ones.
Yes.
And the only time they realize and that relationship gets better is when you realize that they're doing that and you set those boundaries in place. And you can have friends, family, whoever. Some people would take advantage of your friendship. Some people will take advantage of your family relationship. But the bottom line is, what is a healthy relationship? We defined it. They're built on
Hmm.
mutual respect and trust. Now, is that person respecting you by borrowing money from you and not paying it back?
No.
It's there it is.
He's will keep on. See, you talking about setting boundaries, and I know sometimes when you do set boundaries, you lose friends. You
Well,
know?
are you really losing a friend when
Yeah,
you
I was
set a
gonna say
boundary?
that too.
I mean, you'll be surprised how much peace you get in your life when you start setting down boundaries. See, a parasitic personality, they got to move on to somebody else. They can't sit around and wait for you to tell them no. They got to find somebody else that they can kind of fool that this is friendship. So then you start making room for people that want to contribute to your life. Now, I can just talk about the circle that I have here in San Antonio. We all love hanging around each other. We all contribute to each other in whatever way we can, and we're about building community. That's
Yeah.
what we have in common, right? And even if we don't talk to each other every day, it ain't gonna go too many days where we don't at least check in with each other. Why? Because it's mutually beneficial. It's
Right.
helpful. It's more of a family than I'd say even friendship. It gets to that point, where you become like family. Now, I don't have any family that was around me that's going to try to manipulate or try to take advantage. And I will say I've learned to say no is a great habit to learn.
It sure is.
It's a great habit to learn. But now use it sparingly, right? I mean, use it appropriate. Now, if you got somebody that just, if you can easily do this and help them out, and it's just once, then possibly, yeah. But once it comes back more than once, it becomes a habit. And that's when you got to start evaluating, wait a minute, you know, now everybody has people that are going through a tough time. And I'm gonna just put this out here. In terms of giving money, I never give more than I can afford or to give. I don't
Yeah.
care if it's borrowing or whatever. If I'm not going to give you more money then I can afford to lose if the person can't pay you back. Yeah, remember, if the person is asking you for money is because they're going through something and they may not have the ability to pay it. They can't pay that debt, so you become the debt that they can't pay.
Exactly.
So don't give it if you can't afford it. So no, you need to say no to yourself sometimes. They might ask you for 5,000 and you might be able to give them 500. We'll give them 500 and say, hey, pay that back when you can, bro. I'm not gonna sweat you over that because I can afford to give you 500. I
Right.
don't care if it's $50. If you can afford to give 50, that's $50 more than they had. But man, you got this good job. Hey, wait a minute. Hold up, hold up. You don't talk about the money I make. You don't know the bills I have.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let people trick you into, well, you're doing good. It's a lot of people give you this two step. When they come and butter you up, oh man, you're doing good. I see you got this nice new truck. You got this nice car. Hey man, let me borrow. You've heard of people. Let me borrow $50. Let me borrow $10. Or
Mm-hmm.
or if you say after they see you get blessed, they come around maybe ask you for 100 or whatever, 200. Okay, that's if I got it, I'll think about it. But if I feel like it's a hustle, you ain't get nothing from me.
There you go. That's what
I,
I'm
I don't
talking
I don't
about.
need friends I gotta pay for
Mm-hmm.
or family.
And sometimes family, it could be your, ooh, like, for instance, my mom told me a long time ago, if you do something for family, charge them. I said, okay. So one year I was at home and they needed the roof replaced and some other things done. I shipped my tools up there, did everything. Me and my baby brother, we did everything. So I gave my mom a bill. And she said, wait a minute. I said, didn't you tell me to charge family? She said, but I'm your mother. That way you can make an example. And no,
I,
I didn't take, but I had to bring that up, and I just threw it back on her, and the look on her face was priceless.
well, hey, what's that saying? What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's your mom, man. And you know what? Um, she's already contributed a lot to you.
yeah,
But sometimes family can take advantage of you. But use sparingly. Look at what they've contributed to your life. Everybody's situation is different.
right.
But there's other ways people can be used by even parents. The Bible says that you honor thy mother and thy father, but it doesn't say be a fool.
That point.
So if you got a parent that's got some addiction issues or whatever, and they always asking you for money, you got to be creative with that. I had some experience with that where I had a parent that was struggling with some things, and instead of bringing money, I would bring food, KFC or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And they'd be like, well, let me hold $2. I said, well, let me see. What do you need for that $2? If you can ask me for money more than once, I'm gonna ask you what do you need it for.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a problem, because I might be able to get a discount on it, I might be able to get more of what you do. But if you're trying to
Yep.
get me to get you some money to supply a habit, be it alcohol or other, then no, I'm not there for that.
There you go.
And if you can ask me, more than once, then I feel like I can get in your business, and I'll be more than happy to provide you what something I know you're gonna need. Now, out of my sight, if you take this food or whatever and sell it or whatever, I can't control that, but I can at
That's
least make
right.
it a little more difficult for you to, do what you need to do. And I don't know if people have seen this before. I had one time I refused to give some money and I got some food for this person or I had some food to give them, and I had a person go off on me one time.
What?
Yeah, this was here in San Antonio. Before I went to Japan, there's a
Mm.
lady at one of the gas stations. I was leaving work and leaving the base I was working at that particular day, and it was a lady sitting out there, and she asked me for some money. I said, "Well, I'm not gonna do that, but you want something for the store? I'll get you something to drink or something to eat or whatever." She said, "Yeah, I like to get something to drink." So I said, "Oh, yeah, no problem." I went and got what I got and got paid for my gas or whatever, and came out and gave her something to drink and then gave her something to eat, and then she said, "Well, can I get something to drink?" Now that's my first issue sign should have been when she stood at the door. and was trying to tell me which drink she wanted, you know. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know. And then I came back out and she wanted something else to eat. That's what it was. It was something, the drink was first, and then she wanted something else to eat. Well, I'd already went in and bought everything, so I had, you know, a health bar or something like that, you know,
Yeah.
in the car. So I'm thinking, if you're hungry, you'd be happy with that. Man, I went to give her this bar, and she went off on me. I don't want that SHI, you know, the rest. And I said, yeah, I said, oh, well, you must not be hungry then. I'll take my little bar on back into the truck. You know, and then she started to go off. She triggered me, brother. I, it wasn't my store, but I kicked her off the property. And so I'm sorry. Don't be like me. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't be like me. But yeah, she picked the right one on the right day that day.
Yeah.
She had to move on down to the next gas station.
Hmm.
You know, after that, but anyway, so you got to know how to say no to people. You know, you got to be, and that's family, friends, whatever. And people can get so used to people giving that they can get indignant. You
Hmm.
know, so sometimes this you helping somebody by saying no.
Yeah.
You know, it's good to help, but never be taken advantage of and be a fool. Now I try to let the Holy Spirit let me know what I'm supposed to give and what I'm supposed to give.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, when you said that story right there, I had a whole bunch of change. And I would see this lady all the time. And I told my wife, I'm going to give her this change
Hmm.
and stuff, just to help her out. So I said, hey, ma'am, I got this change for a change. I don't want no damn change. You don't have any paper bills or anything. I don't want no change. So I looked at her, turned around. I said, okay. So I came home and said, I'm going to count this and see how much she passed up. Almost $21 worth of change I had. And,
Hmm.
and, and she passed that up.
Well, here's the thing. You know, people, a lot of those folks that are homeless, they're dealing with mental illness too.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to understand that they got issues, and that's some of the reason why they may be out there, right? But at the same time, even a person with mental illness got to learn lessons. You can't talk to anybody any type of way,
That's right.
right? And you know, that's what it is. They just picked the right day with me, and they picked the right day with you, and they missed out. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But you know, it's sad because it makes some people not even want to deal with folks because you know you're going to run into situations like that. But you know, it is what it is. But back in the topic of relationships, um, you know, it's really important to try to make sure you evaluate your relationships to make sure they're healthy and not toxic. You know, so you want open, honest, respectful, you know, relationships, not one-sided, manipulative, and sometimes even include personal attacks. But the gentleman just called in a minute ago when he's telling other people that you're just going to say no. That's a personal attack. That's manipulation. You know, um, another a way to view your relationships if it's positive is if the goal is mutual understanding versus one side winning, revenge, control, or involving blame or silence.
Okay.
You know, so it's a lot of ways to break it down and look at it. And people a lot of times don't understand a partnership versus is in a healthy relationship is mutual. They encourage you know mutual hobbies, goals. A toxic relationship involves a codependency. One partner might feel isolated, smothered, you know, or feel manipulated, and they not even know they're feeling manipulated, you know. So it's really, you know, you have to look at your relationships and see if those signs are popping up. And
Yeah.
that's it.
All right. I got one right here with no name,
It's okay.
but
The no name. All right.
okay, it says right here. I told my wife no one day I'm not going to do that, and I explained to her this is fun. It's not funny. I explained to her, you have a laptop, you can look it up yourself. Why do I have to do it? And
Hmm.
he said she went off on him. saying that was your job to do. To when I ask you to do something, you need to do it, and that's where he left it off at.
Hmm. Well, my question would be why? Why do I need to do it? I mean, I can do it. That's 100% within my ability to do. But why is it my job to do it? That would be a question that I would ask. And also, when you say go off, what in what ways did they go off? Did she start yelling? Did she start you know saying some things like personal attacks? What did she get silent? Because that is a perfect example of toxicity. You control. That's your
Mm-hmm.
job. That sounds like control, right? Um, silence. Um, withholding intimacy, whatever it is. If they don't get their way, so I would like to know a little bit more information about that, and I
But
think that would help.
he just typed back and said she told him that he was not a real man.
Hmm. Okay, so to her, if I get this right, and if I can infer from just this example, um, he didn't do something she said. He didn't look up something on the internet for her, and that alone defined his manhood.
There's probably more to it.
It's a lot more to that. It's a lot more to that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I asked that question that way because there's a lot of gaps there that need to be filled. Because if a man is defined by not doing what they're told, that leaves a very interesting definition of manhood. And there's got to be a lot more to that story. But the fact that that was said means there's definitely some things
So
going on. That definitely sounds like a personal attack, but in one-sided. But what's the whole context of that story? That's what I
right.
would like to know. You know, but because right now, obviously, it seems like a personal attack and control. But how do you move on from that? What's the full story behind that, right? And there's got to be some more to it. So if they want to chime in and let me know that, then we can see. But obviously, that's not a healthy uh, communication in that relationship, and it definitely sounds like personal attacks, manipulative, trying to get you triggered by saying that you're not a man or whatever the case may be. Um, I'm not really connecting the dots on how your a manhood is
Yeah.
implied in that conversation.
Yeah. I just sent him a message and asked can he go into further details,
Okay.
and haven't got nothing back yet.
Yeah, there's more information there, right? I mean,
Oh,
obviously.
there's a lot more right there. It may be one of these love hate relationships. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, it could be codependence. Just need further information. That's what that's what we need because obviously that's been set up to show a one-sided toxic relationship. That some personal attacks are going on and control is going on. So that's what was demonstrated there. Now, what else
Yeah.
is going on? And then you always got to ask the question, what would she say? What would she say? What would his wife say? What are the other things that led up to that?
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
people go through some stages and things like, for instance, I told you the passing of my wife, mom. So they're over there doing the house, getting everything all done. I went over there to help out yesterday. and
Right.
she told me, baby, we need some boxes. I said, okay. I didn't say anything. So this
Mhm.
morning she said, we need some boxes. I said, you know, it's for y'all. You think somebody could stop by and pick up some boxes?
Mhm.
I said it like that. Can y'all just get some boxes? And she said, well,
Mhm.
well, well, can you get them? I said, I can, but I'm busy this whole day. And I said,
Mhm.
seriously, my calendar is full for the whole day. I can get some boxes afterwards, if you really do need them. But Walmart is right here. I was, I said, Walmart is right here. Home Depot is over there. Why don't all y'all together go and get 2 or 3 boxes a piece from them and go there and
Right.
set up everything? Because I was just saying, this is what you could do to make it, fine. Now, I don't mind getting them. I said, I will get them, but I have no time today to do that. I'm busy. So, but if they don't get any boxes, I'll get some when I come home this evening and bring it over there and give them boxes. I have no problem in that. But it wasn't like I wouldn't say, well, y'all get your own box. What you need me for? I was giving them options. you know. So I learned a long time ago. You don't say, just give them some options, and I'm pretty sure
Well,
they'll force this to work something out.
what I like about that from a relationship standpoint is you didn't say no outright.
Mm-hmm.
You just said, but you did say no, in a way that set a boundary. It said, hey, I have some things I have to do today. There's a convenient option for you to get it done. And if you can't get it done, you're willing to, when you can, provide that option, right?
Right.
And unfortunately, um, and I know Karen, she's not going to think of you less of a man because you didn't go and get the boxes. But a lot of women nowadays, or I don't say nowadays, a lot of women believe that a man is supposed to jump when they say to do something.
Yep.
That's I've seen on quite a few videos. There was one I saw recently where this lady was going off on this guy for not getting her nails done.
Mm.
And I don't know who was on the other end or if this is a real conversation, but she was like, well, what do I have you for if you don't get my nails done? And why am I seeing you if you're not going to do what I ask you to do? So if I'm understanding that logic correctly, that's saying that a man's value is number one in providing for her needs, uh, beauty wise, economically, and whatever I say is what I get financially, and I think that sets an interesting precedent, right?
Yeah.
Because then if you are just there, if you're there to provide what she needs financially, whenever you need it, then what do you think the man is going to request if it's a monetary relationship? I'm trying to say that as politically correct as
Yeah.
possible. Uh, if you think that, there are other relationships that are based on finance in a relationship, and I don't think you want to be classified as that. I don't think you do. Now,
Yeah.
maybe there's some relationships out there, and this isn't between a husband and a wife either, right? This is somebody that they're dating, and she's issuing commands about, well, if you don't pay to get my nails done, I don't need to be bothered with you. That should raise a lot of red flags. That's
Mm-hmm.
controlling, manipulative. Uh, you know, uh, some women are out there that feel that's the case. I have never, even when I was single, never, never felt like I had to pay for a person's company.
That point. Yeah.
That was, if I did spend money, that was my choice,
Mm-hmm.
and it was appreciated. It was never the point or the purpose. And I never lacked attention because of it. Because I'll tell you what, there are women that will love a man with a backbone. In fact, because that's what our nature should be.
Mm-hmm.
So as men, we definitely need to know how to say no. And we also need to know how to say yes.
True
And
that.
we need to know how to take our significant other out, our wives, I do believe in dating or as they used to say back in the day, courting. If we want to look at some things, there are elements in life and in government trying to take us back in time. And okay, well, let's go back in time in this period where you had to court somebody, they used to
Yes.
call it, or
Mm-hmm.
date someone. So you could see a man should be in a position to pay for dinner sometimes, to take you out. So, I like the idea of opening up the door when you can. I mean, there's
That's
some
right.
times with you can't, that doesn't work out, when the vehicles are too close or it's raining and you just need to hurry up and get in the car. But we need to bring some of that back. So for some of us, it never completely left, but there's nothing wrong with providing for someone that's also providing respect. The main thing I have on that lady that is saying, well, what do I need you for if you're not paying for my nails? Well, you should need them for protection.
Mm-hmm.
You should need them for leadership. You should need him for his nature of being a man and being a provider. But if you're not providing respect, I'm gonna just put it out here, you don't deserve any of that. And if any woman out here wants to call back and talk about that, yeah,
Yeah,
if you
come on.
don't give respect, you don't deserve any monetary gain, any protection or whatever. Because I'll tell you like this, if you can't respect me as a man, you're going to shoot off your mouth and probably get me in danger.
Mm.
So if you can't respect in a relationship, no, I'm not going to protect you out there. I'm not going to let you endanger me because you don't have self-control and know when to run your mouth. You might need to run into a situation where you get taught that lesson because you should have got it by now. Oh, I know that sounds rough coming from a therapist, that you might need to get a couple, you know,
Right.
blows thrown at you from somebody. But we need to learn to watch our mouths.
You said a mouthful right there, because your mouth will get you in trouble.
What they say, well, don't write a check your behind can't
In
cash.
cash.
There's a whole lot of checks being written out here by a lot of folks.
And they bouncing
And
all
see,
over the place.
and you don't, and you never know. I'm gonna tell you right now, as a therapist, there's a whole lot of people out here that will cash that check in.
Yep.
They'll take you up on it. See, and you got to be real careful. A disrespectful woman, especially in public, oh no,
No.
that ain't gonna work out. We living in too crazy of a time nowadays.
You're not kidding. You better watch it. Matter of
Yeah,
fact,
so
you can't say too much nowadays to people because you don't know when they're gonna snap.
there's that.
Can't honk the horn at people. They snap, even though it's their fault.
There's that. Now, as a man, you want me to go out there and risk my life because you don't know how to control your mouth
Mm.
or take somebody's life because you don't know how to control your mouth.
And they just move on.
Well, I didn't tell him to do it. There was an example. We just had an example on national TV
Yeah.
where a very prominent figure walked up and slapped another prominent figure. And her response was, well, I didn't tell him to do it.
But she gave him that look. You gonna defend me?
Well, I don't know if the look did it, or if his ego did it, or if he just snapped because of all the things that were going on back then. And I'm not poking fun at the situation. Let me make sure. I'm trying to allude how this can go wrong, right?
Yeah.
Where you can think that you're defending someone who really doesn't even, really want you defending them like that. But in this case, in the case I'm talking about, you've got some women, that will shoot off at the mouth or whatever, and feel that it's your job to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
Like you top flight security, right?
Low flight security, not
Yeah.
top.
So, and especially if they know you got a bad temper and
Mm-hmm.
you carry a handgun, you really got to be careful.
You ain't kidding, baby. Can you get him?
Like what are we in the mob now, or what are we?
I don't know. It's
What are
crazy
we
though.
what are we doing, right? So what are we doing, right? So you just gotta understand, like when you telling somebody what their job is, what we and what you feel that if they're not a man because they don't do this, well then what makes you a woman? And I think you have to be careful, and I think we need to look at, for me, I think it's good to look at the biblical text of what a man is and what a woman is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we can get into that. But I'm putting some stuff out there and I'm welcome for challenges and conversation and all that. If anybody has anything they want to say, hey, now's the time. But
Yeah.
trust me, these are loaded questions and these are loaded statements, and I can back up everything that I'm talking about.
You know, when you said loaded, I was talking. I did an interview about a week ago. I did the same thing I do to you. I asked this lady this question right at the end of the interview. She said, "Why you ask that question now? That's such a loaded question." I said, "That's not the first I heard of this, and it probably won't be the last either." But but you're right. The things you want to know about, it is loaded, and but there's a lot of answers to it. There's some deep thought into all this toxic
They're,
relationships, and people in some of them don't even know they're in them.
they don't. And that's the thing, right? Because of that codependency
Mm-hmm.
factor, and just some people want to be in a relationship so bad that they would deal with this behavior. And the problem about that is the people that you're in a relationship with, they know that. They know that you want them or need them or whatever the case may be. So they feel that they can get away with some of this behavior, right?
And my
So it's manipulation, man.
yeah, and my favorite one is this. You know you're not gonna leave me.
Until they do. There was a song by Isaac Hayes back in the day, man. I think it was Phoenix or something like that. I
By the
forget what it's
time I get
called.
to Phoenix,
By the time I get to Phoenix,
Phoenix,
man, if you listen to that song, it's an old song,
it long
but
too.
it's a long song. All those songs back then were long.
Boy.
Like you got to take half the afternoon to
Mm-hmm.
hear one song. But there's a part in that line where it says, "By the time I get to Phoenix, she'll be rising."
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried to leave that girl many times
Times
before.
before.
And it's going through all the times at different places by the time he gets to Phoenix, where she'll be thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another song too by what's his name? Oh my goodness, can't believe I can't think of his name right now. Is it Taylor? If you think you're lonely now, who is that?
Oh, you think Bobby Womack?
Bobby Womack. What am I saying?
Yeah.
Taylor. Bobby Womack. Hey, listen, there's some lyrics in there.
If you think
You
you're
know,
lonely now, wait until
wait
tonight,
until
girl.
tonight. Yeah, come on now. Listen. And that actually could be a manipulation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's saying, yeah, I know you're gonna be lonely, you're gonna miss me. You know what I'm saying? So, but the song didn't start off with what he did. He
Mm-hmm.
only talked about you gonna miss me. So
Yeah.
it's them songs back in the day, man. They used to say something, and you can look at it in a lot of different ways,
Yeah.
right?
You sure
Um,
can.
so. Anybody, if you got, there's a show out there right now on Netflix, and it's one of the Tyler Perry's. I'm recommending this or I'm talking about this very cautiously because there's a whole lot of stuff in that movie that I think is getting ready. It's starting to cross the line a little bit, but it talks about Joe, the character of Joe,
Yeah.
and Medea. So if you know about Medea and Joe, Joe's taking his grandson on a college uh, trip to view the college and all the adventures with that. And there's a really good point in there about Black history and being connected with your history. But there's also a history about Joe when he was a pimp and how he treated women and how women are treated and how back in the day that was acceptable to certain demographics and certain people that we used to look up to, like Superfly and all the movies about Dolomite and all that.
Yeah.
There's this element that thinks that misogynistic behavior is acceptable. And we've got to wrestle with that. We got to understand that it's acceptable until they start talking about your daughter.
Yes.
And then they're like, "Oh, no, not my daughter." Well, if you create a culture that women can be manipulated and treated any type of way, then aren't you also contributing to how your daughter could be treated? And it's been many shows, and now that I've had a daughter, I've had to really think about the music you listen to. Any father that has a daughter knows what I'm talking about. You go back through movies that you used to watch when you were younger and you didn't even notice certain things. You can't even make it through the movie, especially if you're fat. You're like, "Oh no, this ain't."
Yeah.
This ain't what we doing today. No, this ain't the message. And being conscious of it.
Yep. So true. So true. All right, my
So
brother. That hour went by.
it did.
And then I'm gonna make sure these anybody asks any questions come next week. I'm gonna post it again, saying you'll be back next Thursday and post those questions on the toxic relationship. And
And I think what I'm going to do this weekend, stand by. If anybody has any interest in this, you can send it in to Ron. I'm going to open up about an hour on Saturday. It's going to be called the the counselor and coaches corner on Zoom, where you can talk to somebody individually for a minute, see if or even send people to this. It's going to be a Zoom, and it's going to be on Saturday for about an hour. We're just going to be available. We're going to get together and be available. And if you want to talk to somebody, maybe get routed to a coach or a counselor, or have somebody
yeah,
get routed to a coach or a counselor about relationships, anxiety, depression, motivation, whatever, we'll be available to talk on Zoom. And I'm going to send the Zoom to Ron if people are have an interest for something like that, because I know this
mm,
is a radio format. This is on a lot of different platforms. People may not want to put their business out there, just like the gentleman didn't have a name.
yeah,
If they want to talk to us kind of offline or on a Zoom call where it'll be, they can ask questions or whatever the case
yeah.
may be, and we can set them up to talk to somebody, great, or make a referral to talk to somebody. I don't deal with every issue. I have my things that I deal with, but I can definitely refer people to the different areas that's not within my scope that I deal with.
Okay. Yeah, definitely send that to me and I'll send it out.
All right, yeah, and then if anybody is interested in that too, hit up the radio station. You can go to my website, email me, and if we get some interest, if we got some folks that are interested, hey, I'm not charging for this, so I'm not going to just set it up unless somebody needs it,
There you go.
but it wants it. But I'm willing to do a counselor and coach's corner for a minute, 1 hour on Saturday. If we get about 4 or 5 people, we'll get it moving. If
Okay.
not, then we'll keep it the way it is.
Sounds good, my brother.
All right.
All right. And what's that slogan you say all the time?
Hey, look, what's that? Your actions speak so loudly. I can't hear a word you're saying.
See.
So make sure that people's actions you listening to, not just what they say.
Okay.
That's what it is.
All right. Until next week. We'll
Till
talk to
next
you.
week.